Earthbound is without question one of the most influential games of all time. Its humor, its art direction, its soundtrack, all of these have helped cement it as the classic it rightfully deserves to be. The game is a subversion of the role-playing genre. It plays with tropes, it pranks the audience, and offers some really off-the-wall moments. Describing what happens in Earthbound is like reciting absurdist poetry. An almighty insect arrives from the future to warn of an unknowable evil. Freed Saturns once enslaved by a sentient puke pile open the way to the Milky Well. A frazzled secretary desires trout yogurt for a spoiled advisor. Despite its silly exterior, Earthbound isn't afraid to go to some rather dark places, but at the same time it's not afraid to lean into a genuine emotional honesty. The game feels oddly intimate. Is that the right word? Intimate? Visceral? Something like that. In many ways, the game feels like it's aware of you, testing you for the trials ahead. Earthbound might be the most personal game from the 16-bit era, one that wants to see you specifically, grow in the adventure of a lifetime. In the days of the Famicom, game credits weren't really a thing. Certain game companies, fearing that their star talent would be hired by rival companies, made sure that their staff were credited under nicknames, if at all. The players of these old games weren't really supposed to know who made them, not that anyone cared, really. The exceptions were games made in conjunction with celebrities. In 1986, Taito published Takeshi's Challenge, a game spearheaded by writer, director, actor, and presenter Takeshi Kitano. His name is in the title. His face is on the cartridge. We know whose name to curse as we attempt to play this convoluted mess. When Shigesato Itoi approached Nintendo about making his own game, it was under similar circumstances. At that point in the 1980s, Itoi was known for many things. He appeared on television on a regular basis. He co-authored a book of short stories with the legendary Haruki Murakami. He was a voice actor, most notably as the father character in My Neighbor Totoro. He was best known for his copywriting work, though. He had a knack for taking a business or a product and distilling it down to only a few captivating words that would oftentimes have multiple meanings. He wrote the taglines for many Studio Ghibli films, such as My Neighbor Totoro. These strange creatures still exist in Japan. Probably. Kiki's Delivery Service. It's been hard times, but I'm alright. And only yesterday, I'm going on a trip with me. He was also responsible for this bizarre ad campaign for the Seibu department store. The slogan Oishi Sekatsu, or Delicious Life, paired with several pictures of Woody Allen. I have no idea, but it was a successful campaign. One of his copywriting clients was Nintendo, who had hired him to market a dating simulator. During a call about the project, Itoi mentioned a stray idea he had been developing on the side, a role-playing video game. The resulting game was Mother, and as it begins, we see two names, Nintendo and Shigesato Itoi. Before the game even starts, we're told who created the game we're about to play. Mother's sequel, released internationally as Earthbound, tells us the name of its creator up front as well, and like its predecessor, it contains his signature blend of quirky surrealism. Westerners didn't quite know what to make of Earthbound at first. Imagine Twin Peaks and The X-Files for a younger audience, wrote Superplay magazine. That's code for, I have no idea what's going on, but it seems cool. In North America, the game carried the tagline, "This game stinks." Perhaps not the best pick considering how grand and emotional the game is. But at the same time, I can see how a lot of these enemy designs could fit in with 90s gross-out aesthetics. For better or worse, the game was marketed to the Ren and Stimpy crowd. In Japan, though, the game had the tagline, "For adults, kids, and even your sister," a slogan written by Itoi himself. The implication being that Mother 2 is a game that everyone can enjoy, not just boys who like boogers. There is so much wonder in this world, so many new and exciting places to visit, so many new people to meet, so many new things to learn and discover. In the first chapter alone, main character Ness will fight crows wearing sunglasses, confront hooligans at the arcade, meet a crazy mechanic and his killer robot, visit a clown flophouse, and climb to the top of a mysterious mountain. Through its young cast of characters and its casual writing style, it asks the audience of adults, kids, and sisters to experience the world through the eyes of their younger selves. There are numerous nods to the fact that Earthbound knows it's a video game. Games have a somewhat tenuous relationship with the fourth wall. Originally conceived as a theater term, the fourth wall refers to the edge of the stage, an invisible barrier that separates the performers from the audience. It makes it seem like the characters in a play are unaware that they're being watched. But when a performer turns to the audience and addresses them directly, that illusion breaks. Suddenly, at least one of the characters is aware of the audience and is aware that they're in a story. The fourth wall has been broken. But in a game, that's a little different. You know how like when you're playing Zelda or whatever and you talk to an NPC and they're like, here's a traditional song from my village. The lyrics are a little strange though. Use the B button. Does that count as a fourth wall break? The characters are unaware that they're in a game, but they're delivering information that only the player will understand. In this case, use the B button. If Ness explores the library, he can run into this person who's studying for a games class test. She tells him, and by extension us, how to recoup lost hit points. The fourth wall has kind of been acknowledged. Ness isn't exactly aware that he's a character in a video game, but Earthbound is aware that it operates on video game logic. These sorts of fourth wall breaks extend to the next chapter as well, though they take different forms. As Ness travels to Tucson, the next town over, he'll meet two inventors, Apple Kid and Orange Kid. Both of them ask Ness for money to fund their research. Now, classic video game logic dictates that the player should give both of these kids money, so a first-time player would fork over the cash. Apple Kid will finish his inventions. He'll come up with several handy gadgets that help Ness and his friends along the way. But Orange Kid will spend the entire game trying to come up with an invention that will turn a boiled egg back to a raw egg. And spoilers, I guess, he never will. Orange Kid is just a joke of a character, a prank the game plays on the audience. It's not an overt fourth wall break, but it's an acknowledgement that there is an audience there to be pranked by this hack citrus inventor. In the cult-infested Happy Happy Village, Earthbound starts to hint at its darker side. This is where Ness meets Paula, the second party member. She's a young girl who's been kidnapped and imprisoned by a cult, a mindless mass brainwashed by a charismatic leader with an iconic symbol. Even before this, there have been some pretty messed up moments. There's a scene of child abuse. It happens off screen, but it's pretty obvious what's going on. When Ness tries to leave the first town, he has to talk to the town's police chief, who corners him in a room and orders 5 of his officers to beat him. Earthbound's silly antics sit next to some rather grounded, disturbing scenes. In the third town, Ness and Paula get cornered by a group of zombies and thrown into a pit. Paula telepathically reaches out to the next party member, a kid in a faraway land named Jeff. Jeff's interlude is a great example of Earthbound's 3 key ingredients: childlike whimsy, nods to the audience, and hints at a darker side to the world. Jeff lives at a boarding school with his roommate Tony. Despite Tony's protests, Jeff sneaks out and follows the telepathic signal. He meets a group of sightseers looking for Tessie, a mythical sea monster, but they can't find her because they don't have a monkey who can blow bubbles with chewing gum. It's wonderful. This scene operates on pure kid logic. On the other side of the water, Jeff will navigate a poorly made dungeon made by someone named Brick Road, who's left behind notes about dungeon design, yet another nudge towards the audience. Jeff arrives at his father's laboratory in search of a ship that will take him to the other side of the world. Yet when he arrives, his father doesn't recognize him. He hasn't seen Jeff in over 10 years, and Jeff is how old? 13 maybe? We've been wowed by sea monsters, teased by low-effort dungeons, enticed by the prospect of a flying machine, yet we feel the sting of an absent parent. For a game whose original title is literally Mother 2, the parents in Earthbound don't appear much. Ness's mother is a caring soul. If he doesn't call her every so often, he'll get homesick and have to call her to feel better. Ness's father, on the other hand, is never seen in-game. He's only heard through phone calls. It's never stated where he is or why he's been away from home for so long. Is he on an extra-long business trip? Are Ness's parents even together anymore? When Shigesato Itoi was young, his parents divorced. He has recounted rarely seeing his mother after that. His father's career demanded quite a bit of travel, so he hardly saw him either. He was raised by his grandmother and older sister. As a kid, he became an avid reader, losing himself in manga. He contemplated drawing it as a career, but that didn't really work out. He enrolled in university, but dropped out after a single year. It wasn't until years later that he found copywriting, a skill that opened many doors for him. There's no question that Itoi has been successful for a long time, but his career is all over the place. He made a TV special where he mined for gold. He started a daily blog in the early days of the internet. He's designed fashion. He wrote songs. He's a Monopoly champion. He's a talented interviewer. He is boundlessly creative, unable to be put in a single solitary box. Similarly, his most famous work is unable to be categorized. Earthbound is all over the place. Its story, its objectives, its enemies, its tone, it shifts every few minutes. One play session, Ness and the gang are in a mine fighting modest moles. The next play session, they're lost in a neon-drenched mirror world infested with violent pieces of abstract art. All the while, there's a sneaking suspicion that the game is aware of you. Soon after Jeff joins Ness and Paula, they travel to Saturn Valley, a village inhabited by... are they aliens? Mythical creatures? I don't know, they're Mr. Saturns. To get to the next dungeon, Ness and the gang have to get behind a waterfall outside of the village. They have to sit underneath the falls and wait for 3 whole minutes. Yet another prank. After completing the dungeon on the other side of the waterfall, they'll find themselves back in Saturn Valley. One of the Mr. Saturns will ask Ness if he wants a coffee. Sure. And then... this scene comes out of nowhere. The background moves like the battle ones, yet it is calmer, more inviting. Text scrolls across the screen, recounting the adventure and offering encouraging words. On your way, you have walked, thought, and fought. Yet through all this, you have never lost your courage. You have grown steadily stronger, though you have experienced the pain of battle many times. I know you will be all right. When good battles evil, which side do you believe wins? Do you have faith that good is triumphant? There are many difficult times ahead, but you must keep your sense of humor, work through the tough situations, and enjoy yourself. Ness, Paula, Jeff, I wish you luck. It's not clear who exactly is speaking in this scene. At first it seems like it's Mr. Saturn, but the dialogue isn't written in Saturn speak. Maybe it's Ness's mom or dad from far away? Maybe it's Ness from the future? The game leaves it ambiguous. It's also not exactly directed at Ness. I mean, it kind of is, but it feels like it's sort of directed at us. The cracks in the fourth wall grow. The player saves 3, traverses the desert, and explores the city of Fourside. After completing all of the objectives there, the crew crash lands on the shore of Summers. They enter a house, get what they need to progress, and the phone rings. It's Tony, Jeff's friend from boarding school. He's collecting names of video game players. Wait, me? Holding the controller? At the beginning of the game, we named everyone, even a character we haven't met yet. The game should have all the info it needs, right? And it wants to know my name too? There have been fourth wall breaks before, but they haven't been this overt. They've only been little nudges, little references to Earthbound's video game nature. This, however, makes it more tangible. You out there holding the controller. Tell me about yourself. After that, the player goes to a club where people drink tap water and discuss philosophy and look at a rock. A woman there offers us magic cake. We eat it, then we have a dream. Soon the illusion will shatter completely. In the far-off land of Dalam lives a prince named Pooh. He has one final task to overcome to complete his training, the Moo Trial. He climbs to the top of the peak and sits. He begins to meditate. Soon a girl addresses him from afar. I'm a messenger from your master. You must stop your meditation immediately. Well, okay, sure. Pooh stands up and returns to his master, only to learn that in standing up, he's failed the test. Another classic Earthbound prank. Okay, let's try again. Pooh sits down to meditate. The girl pleads with him to stop, but he ignores her. The screen goes dark. A face appears. It consumes him. He enters a battle. Prince Pooh, I am the spirit of your ancient lineage. To complete your trial, I am going to break your legs. You will lose the use of them. Do you accept this? No, actually, I don't accept this. Pooh comes to. The music reverts back to normal. Nothing has changed. I've failed, haven't I? Okay, fine. Deep breath. Pooh sits down. The chanting begins. The face reappears. He asks to break his legs. I accept. Pooh takes serious damage. His health plummets to a critical point. You cannot walk, as your legs are broken. Next, I will tear your arms off. I shall take your arms and feed them to the crows. The taking of your arms Do you accept this? Pooh's health hits 0. The death sound plays. Certainly, this is the end. But the spirit continues. Without legs and arms, you can only lie there. Now, I'll cut your ears off. You do not mind my taking your hearing away, do you? Do you accept this? The music of Dalam pierces through the darkness, a life raft in a sea of nothingness. Pooh opens his eyes. Color returns. He did it. He passed the trial. We passed the trial. Earthbound has shown us some wild things. We've seen ghosts, zombies, sea monsters, evil statues, a neon underworld, greedy monkeys, a delusional cult, a godlike fly, a sentient puddle of vomit, and a faulty flying machine. We've been across the world. We've fought dozens of otherworldly foes. We've seen how wonderful, how frightening this world can be. The game has shown us so much, so many things, taken us to so many places. Yet this moment subverts that. The most radical, mind-altering thing the game can possibly show us is nothing. From this point on, the fourth wall is completely gone. Pooh joins the party and the quartet keep questing. Through the sewers, through a pyramid, through the rainforest, they keep going. Nothing will stop them. They infiltrate a secret base underneath Stonehenge. They take a library book to a shy tribe in the corner of the deep darkness. But suddenly, we're spoken to. The unseen voice asks us what our name is again. Wait, this isn't Tony calling like before. Who is this? The player confirms that their name is, in fact, their name. Another tribe member asks us if we want to drink some tea, and once again, the screen fills with a message. You may have cursed this never-ending journey. You have known injury and defeat, but you have struggled to reach this place. Gygas, the archfiend of the universe, is growing frightened of you and your power. Believe in yourself and press forward. Ness, Paula, Jeff, Pooh, I wish you luck. I wish you luck. Who is I? In 2018, Marcus Lindblom and his wife rediscovered some old floppy disks when cleaning. Lindblom is responsible for the bulk of Earthbound's English localization. Surprisingly, one of the disks had the word Earthbound Message File 325 version scrawled on its front. The disk was donated to the Video Game History Foundation, where the data was received and preserved. Clyde Mandelin, the author of Earthbound's Legends of Localization book, penned an article breaking down some of the unique finds left behind on this long-forgotten floppy disk. There are many unused lines of dialogue. Characters that went unnamed in-game have their actual names revealed. There are also many interesting developer notes scribbled in the digital margins. One of them is a note about the coffee and tea scenes. It reads, "A message of appreciation from Mr. Itoi to the player. I know you will be all right. I wish you luck." The I is Shigesato Itoi, and the you is you. It's not a character speaking to Ness, it's a person. The person whose name is on the title screen speaking directly to you. The person sitting there with the controller in your hand. This changes things, doesn't it? If Itoi is some omniscient character in the story, does that mean that he's the one that asks our name the second time around? Is he the one pranking us by making us waste our money on Orange Kid or wait behind a waterfall? When the spirit asks if we accept our bodies being broken and our senses being stripped away, is he asking Pooh? Or is he asking us? As he cuts off our ears, the sound vanishes. As he plucks out our eyes, the screen goes dark. He communicates by floating words in the air. Words that Pooh can't see, but we can. The spirit is testing us. We will see scary, terrible things on our journey. Are you willing to face the trials ahead? The spirit asks Pooh. Itoi asks the player. Can we clear our minds? Can we overcome the hardships in our path? Do you accept this? Nothing in the trial could actually hurt Pooh. His legs aren't broken, his arms are still attached, his ears and eyes still work. Such injuries are possible and terrifying prospects, but through his training, Pooh learns to face such possibilities, to look them in the eye and not feel fear. He is stronger than he realizes. Similarly, Earthbound is filled with scary, evil things. Even though nothing in the game can hurt you, the person in the real world holding a controller, things like this do exist in your world. Yet at the center of Earthbound, past all the weird characters and enemies, past the abject horrors in the world, sits a kernel of hope, an ingrained belief that you, the person out there, wherever and whenever you are stronger than you realize. I can't help but think of this boundlessly creative person in the early 1990s working on a video game that had been languishing in development. This person, this real-life human being who didn't know what he wanted to be when he grew up, leaving this message for the world to find. When good battles evil, which side do you believe wins? Do you have faith that good is triumphant? Believe in yourself and press forward. I wish you luck. When Shigesato Itoi was a child, he accidentally walked into the wrong movie theater. On the screen was a violent scene, and it blindsided him, disturbed him. Those images took root in his mind. They grew, contorted. It was something he couldn't fully understand. This moment in Itoi's childhood served as the inspiration for Earthbound's final boss, the force of evil that has been influencing the world, Gygas. The four heroes get sent back to the distant past where Gygas resides to put an end to this evil force. While Earthbound has had some dark moments, they've been presented in kind of a charming, cartoony fashion. With Gygas, that ends. Gygas is indescribable. Its attacks are abstract. It's not clear what it is, but it is surely evil. Throughout the entire game, characters have mentioned Gygas, but this is the first time it appears on screen, and it's not at all what was expected. It's like imagining the scariest thing you can think of, and then actually seeing something surpass it. The fight itself isn't so much a battle as it is an endurance test. The player is encouraged not to fight, but stay alive long enough to use Paula's pray action several times. When she prays, she reaches out through time and space to the many characters they've met on their journey. They cheer them on, they offer encouragement. They can do this. But it's not enough. Gygas grows stronger. Paula keeps praying, but this time, there's no one left. The game spits the player back to the battle screen. What else can they do? There's nothing else they can do except pray again. And someone answers. It's me. On this dark screen, through words in a void, Dot keeps praying. I want them to succeed. I believe good can triumph over evil. I have known injury and defeat. I wish you luck. For the entire game, we've been spoken to. From weird subversions to overt fourth wall breaks, Earthbound has been testing us and encouraging us, showing us what we are ultimately capable of. In this moment, this final action of the final battle, Earthbound subverts itself once again. Now we are the ones offering encouragement. It's our turn to speak. This moment feels like reaching back in time to tell a young kid whose family has just fallen apart, who finds respite through stories and humor, that it's all going to be okay. Tell him how he's going to grow up and create wonderful things. He will tell stories that will reach people's hearts. He will direct his own video game, and then he'll make another. And with the help of collaborators, composers, artists, designers, programmers, this game will become a revered classic. It will be played by adults, children, and sisters all across the world, and it will inspire some to make their own games. This moment also feels like I'm reaching back to contact my younger self, telling him that things will be scary, but he will overcome them. I feel as if an older version of myself is contacting me now, telling me to stay strong, stay resilient. When faced with the scariest things we could ever imagine, we will need to find that kernel of hope to face the world head on. You will face horrors beyond your wildest imagination. Do you accept this?